podcast stuck in a 22-minute time loop. My name is Evan Sampson, and I am joined by my two wonderful co-hosts, Cody Mosley.
Hey, guys.
Casper Karen.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
And we are joined by Joe Patnod.
Hello. Yes.
I don't know how to say
our
Joe's
viewers
last name.
remember
That's
Joe.
close enough. We'll take it.
Yeah. Joey
We
Pats.
talked about this last time, too.
Joe is our guest once before. If you might remember him from the Into the Breach episode.
That was a good time.
And he's back again. He's a good guest. We like having Joe, so we're pretty excited.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Boys, what have we been playing? Cody, what's up? What have you been playing, dude?
Loop Hero, man.
Nothing but?
Loop Hero. It's the wave. Everybody's got to play Loop Hero. I can't even begin to describe what it is. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a deck builder, base building sort of auto battler with roguelike elements. I guess it's a roguelike before anything else. But yeah, it's just really fun. Just turn your brain off and play. It does a lot of really cool things that I didn't even think about before for like a rogue-like elements. Like you're making the run harder for yourself. It's not being hard, just, like if you think about Hades.
It's like a risk-reward
where it's
thing.
like, okay, exactly, yeah. So it's like to progress, you have to make it harder for yourself.
Just like
which
life,
is like an
man.
interesting.
Just like life.
Yeah, because so essentially, you're putting down like enemy spawns, and is the map getting more and more busy? That's the only way to progress through the story, progress through the game. Mm-hmm. There's also like resource elements and like kind of like crafting and stuff like that.
Sounds like a lot.
That's the thing. It's like so hard to explain. I know Joe's been playing it
It's
too,
a genre
right?
breaker. It really is.
So, yeah.
It looks like an idle game to me. Just looking at it, I would describe it as an idle game. I know there's obviously elements of it that seem to break out of that genre. And it's not, you can't play it on your fucking phone, so it's not an idle game, but I don't know.
I haven't played it, but I've seen it. I really like the pixel art for it. It looks nice.
Oh yeah, the art is beautiful on it.
Maybe
Definitely.
genre breaker is the wrong word. I just have a hard time describing it. I want to it's not a deck builder. It's not an action RPG. It's not a city builder. It's got a little bit of a sprinkling of like tower defense game in there. Like it's
I can see tower defense.
Is it like an
Or I
indie
could see how it
amalgamation?
could.
Yes, that's a great word. Yes.
It is. Yeah, it's the synthesis of the indie scene right now. Just little parts of all of it.
Yeah.
And it's Devolver Digital, man. They just keep.
They know what they're
I think
doing.
this must be. Is this like our third Devolver Digital? Maybe it's only our second.
That we've
can't
talked
remember,
about on the
but-
show.
Probably
Yeah,
talked
I don't
about
know.
like
We've
every
talked about a
Devolver Digital
ton of
game.
Devolver Digital games. Yeah,
dude.
I don't know
they
if we've
just
actually
do
played one for the
nothing.
show. I don't think. Or
Was it 8-Ball?
oh yeah,
Devolver?
it was. I was
8-Ball
gonna say
was,
8-Ball
yeah.
was Devolver. So
The
we've
very
played I
first
think
one.
one. Our very first one was
Yeah.
Devolver.
Yeah.
We owe it all to Devolver
Yeah.
Digital. Thank you, guys. If you'd like to
you
sponsor
know
the podcast,
Devolver-
please call me. My number is
Did you know their
555
team's only, like-
555-1234.
It's like a team of like 30 people. Devolver,
Yeah.
and they just.
Do they do development
They
or
just-
do they just do publishing?
I think they publish,
They
right?
just. I think they just do publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just have an eye for like spotting
Talent.
just these hidden gems, man.
I love their like Nintendo Direct style presentations they've done for like E3 and stuff. Like with
Oh,
that
yeah,
lady
that's
who
true.
like she like dies at the end of one of them, and then the next year she's like being brought back to life. Like she's being like
yeah, there's like this
defibrillated.
overarching story
Yeah.
year to year. Yeah.
So they have like a storyline to their press
Yeah,
releases?
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, press releases. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like super meta. Yeah.
Wasn't their last press release like an actual game? It was like Devolver Land, and
Oh
Maybe,
yeah,
I
and
don't
it was
know.
like a showcase of.
Yeah,
it was like a first person like horror game.
I don't know
think,
anything
and
about
each
this.
exhibit
you get like a T-shirt cannon
was
and
like.
stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like the weapon.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't even heard of this Devolver Land Expo. Yeah, it's what they
Yeah.
did last year.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
It is a first-person marketing simulator set within an abandoned convention center after the annual Devolver Digital Game Expo was mysteriously canceled.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're super meta as a company, dude. They keep putting out nothing but bangers, man. I tell you.
That's really
So,
cool. That's rad.
yeah.
I do
So, yeah,
want. I
Loop
want to
Hero.
play this just for fun. It's free too. Yeah, I'm totally gonna play this.
Yeah. Oh, so Joe, is there anything else you want to say about Loop Hero?
No, I think that's all I got. I haven't gotten that far in it. I've only beaten Act 1 at this
Yeah,
point.
it's actually like really fucking hard. There's multiple classes in the game, and you know, he's trying to learn like all the different aspects because you have to play each class differently, obviously. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm only on Act 2. So
Have you been playing anything else, Cody, or just kind of that's been occupying your time?
nope, just Loop Hero.
Yeah.
Just Loop Hero.
Loop Hero and doing cybersecurity stuff.
Yep,
A busy man.
it's life.
Casper, what's up with you, bud?
I've been pretty busy, so I've still just kind of been playing Hearthstone every so often.
Yeah,
I
can't
got a
go
new
wrong.
tablet, and I love it because it's great for Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I've been working on my home network though to try and. What I want to do is be able to get like a Steam Link
Oh,
on all
yeah,
my
yeah.
TVs.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
actually got it to work. I only have one TV that actually works with it right now, but I got it so my computer wakes up on LAN, so I can just turn it on, turn it off, all from whatever TV I want, so I can just play
Oh,
games
nice.
wherever. Or even
Yeah,
on my phone.
nice.
Nice.
I bought this like $5 little thing where it clips onto your phone,
Oh,
and then you
Okay.
put the Xbox controller on, so you can actually just play it. Kind of like a
sick.
Switch or
Nice.
something. It's kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chilling.
But that's what I've been
Nice.
doing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Are you all done with Nier Automata? I remember you were playing that, I think, the last episode, which was a month ago. I think we should probably address that at some point, but we'll address it after.
No, I still have the third story. I've been wanting to do it. I just
The third story goes a lot quicker. I mean, it's not as long as the first two.
Yeah.
So
I do really want to play
knock
it.
it out.
Yeah, I gotta knock it out.
Yeah.
Damn.
Joe, what's up with you, man? What have you been playing? You haven't been on the show in like
it's been a
3
bit.
months, so we want to know what you've been playing all these months.
I'm actually here with a mission or a plan. Cody, you're not allowed to recommend games to me for at least a couple months here.
Yeah.
Because you recommended Loop Hero, which we already talked about, and I've been playing the crap out of that. But you also recommended Control, and I was unhealthy about Control.
Control is hard to put
Yeah, you
down.
beat it like a day, dude. Like a
I
day
bought
or
it at
two.
11 a.m. on Saturday. I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to do some maintenance work for work, and so I went to bed at like 8 o'clock that night. Played the game from 11 to 8, basically straight. Woke up at 4 a.m. Did my maintenance work. Got done around 5:30,
go to
and then
bed.
just played the game straight through until like 2 in the afternoon when I had finally beaten everything and almost 100% of the game. Like, I got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I watched your podcast, the last episode on Control.
nice.
Just drop that in here.
Yeah. Well, so what happened was I was like reaching out to all our friends, like trying to find someone who's played Control. And I talked about this in the last episode too. It's like, why has no one played Control? Like, it's so fucking good. So I'm asking you, I'm asking Aiden, all of our previous guests. No one's played it. So I was like, Joe, you have to play it. It's such a Joe game.
That's what you said. It was a Joe game, right? You're spot on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't remember if I talked about it on the last episode, but the whole Control thing, it was like a last minute thing, so I didn't actually play it. And I was worried that playing it, I would be like, oh man, I gotta rush the game or whatever. I didn't feel rushed at all. I really loved the game. I just played it straight through practically.
Yeah, we decided like 4 days before the podcast that we were changing the game, and in 4 days, Catherine knocked it out, no problem.
And like it worked out perfect. Yeah.
And I had just finished it because I had been playing it, so it worked out well.
Yeah.
So Joe, you've been playing Control, you're playing Loop Hero. Anything else that's been occupying your time?
That's about it. You know, I have some classics I always go back to. I play a lot of like War Thunder and that type of crap. But
Nice. Planes and shit, right?
yeah, tanks and planes.
Nice. What have I been playing? Let's see. I'm super addicted to Yakuza 7 pretty much every day after work.
Right.
So Yakuza Like a Dragon. We played Yakuza 0 on the show. I believe my opinion on it at the time was that I could see the value in it, but I couldn't like really vibe with it, if that makes any sense. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
That game was very much like about the world and not about the characters. Whereas Yakuza Like a Dragon is like a redemption story about this one guy who's a new main character named Ichiban Kasuga. And it's like it's really just a story about him, and all the kind of other things from the Yakuza series are very secondary to his story. So I'm like, I don't know. I just want to see his story like work itself out. I'm at like 80, according to my PlayStation, I'm like 87% of the way through, and I've been playing for 45 hours. So
big game.
I'm not, and I'm not usually a long game guy. Like I don't finish long games. Like I didn't finish.
But this one just
Fallout
scratches
4.
the itch.
I didn't finish The Witcher 3, but it's just scratching some kind of itch, and it's turn based, which is also usually not something I'm that into.
Well, it's turn based.
Yeah, this one they went turn based. So Ichiban's like a big fan of Dragon Quest, and he talks about Dragon Quest like all the time, and so like it's all going on in his head. Like when you start a fight, everyone like transforms into he will suddenly like be like wearing like a scarf and be wearing gloves, and like it's like he's just envisioning this reality where people are monsters and he's a hero. So or that's how they kind of spin it, but it's super cool. And I mean the game is called the game's called Yakuza Like a Dragon. Like a Dragon is the Japanese name for the series, kind of like how when Resident Evil 7 came out, they called it Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Biohazard's name in Japan. And I think the reason it's called Like a Dragon, at least partially, is like because like Dragon Quest, it's trying to be like a modern attempt, like an RPG set now, was I think always kind of the goal of the series. So in this one, they're like leaning even harder into that. And I don't know, I think it really works. I think I said in the Yakuza 0 episode too that the fighting's pretty clunky. I thought imprecise, and just being able to like hit a command and have the character just perform it to relative perfection. It works for me. I think it makes more sense for that series. So I've been playing that a lot, and that's pretty much it, except for the game we're gonna talk about. So, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, folks, if you've been listening to the show, we were supposed to play Outer Wilds on the last episode, but due to some scheduling conflicts, we decided to play it for this episode. Always forget to pull up the Wikipedia page for it. So for this episode, folks, we're playing the Outer Wilds, or just it's just Outer Wilds.
Right. Yep.
Outer Wilds is a 2019 action-adventure game developed by Mobius Digital and published by Annapurna Interactive. It's first released for Microsoft Windows, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 2019, with a planned Nintendo Switch release in 2021. Game's about being an explorer in space, and you are stuck in a Majora's Mask-esque time loop, and you need to figure out the nature of the world in which you live. Is that a pretty accurate summary?
So much.
Yeah. Wait, so the Wikipedia says action adventure?
It does list itself as an action. I have experienced no action in this game.
Right. Yeah.
I will say that in my...
There's one tiny action kind of sequence, and that's about it.
Really? Yeah. I didn't get there.
So that just must be a Wikipedia thing then, I'm sure.
Yeah. Edit that shit. Come on. So yeah, why don't we just go around and just did you like the game? Did you not like the game? So Cody, overall, did you like or dislike the game? What are your thoughts from a broad perspective?
So I actually haven't beat it. It sounds like I've gotten pretty far. I'm on the desert planet, but that doesn't really mean anything because you can do any planet in any order.
Right.
So I don't know, maybe I'm 60% through the game, 60, 70 in that range. And it's I want to beat this game, but I feel like it's in my way. I feel like I have to overcome it, but it's why can't I just play it? A lot of the time, okay, so I get the game is in a time loop, right? That's very integral to the game. Sometimes I feel like it's not long enough to do what I want to do. So I wonder, from the developer's point of view, it's they probably went back and forth on the exact time, because it's you don't want it to be an hour, because then the loops don't mean anything, right? But I found myself in a lot of situations. I'm trying to think of one of the planets, Brittle Hollow. I'm trying to do something, and it's kind of oh shit, this planet's crazy, everything's falling apart, so I only have a certain amount of time to do it. And okay, it took me 10 minutes to do this thing instead of 8. So now the whole planet's like falling apart, and I can't accomplish what I was trying to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fly into the sun, kill myself. That way it reboots. I found myself too where I know that the time loop's about to end, and I have to read everything in the room. So that way, like, I can have it on the next run. Like I'm talking about like a roguelike or something.
No, they're runs. Yeah, they're runs.
Yeah.
I would use the word run.
So I'm going through all the text without even reading it, just so I can have it updated on my computer, which I know for a fact is not the way that it's supposed to happen.
You're supposed to be like really absorbing
I'm supposed
those
to like
texts.
enjoy it and like read it. Yeah. So that happened on occasions.
Do you know that when you read, it freezes the time?
Yeah,
Or
that's actually,
there's a setting. There's
is that a setting?
Yeah, I think
that
it's
is a
on
setting,
by
but it's on by
default,
default.
but-
Yeah.
Okay. But I think even if that was still the case, the time, like the loop was about to
You
end.
just felt stressed. I mean,
So
it's
I'm like-
stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I want to like enjoy. I want to figure out
That's
what's going
so exciting.
on. I
That's
want to.
awesome that you feel that way, Cody. I love that.
Yeah, and the game is stunning sometimes.
Yeah.
Like a couple of times, every run you're experiencing something new. So one of the runs I was like outside of Brittle Hollow, and I was watching it fall apart, and I'm like, whoa, this looks sick. Or the first time that you get caught up in the supernova,
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, that's sick.
That was cool.
I do wish
Yeah,
I
so it's
didn't
like
know
you're
it had
always
been on a
discovering
time
new
loop.
things,
Like if
but-
that had somehow been like kept a secret from me before I started playing. Can you imagine like
that would be-
like not knowing and then there's a huge fucking explosion
Right.
and you literally like wake up again in the same spot? Like
Yeah.
that would have been so hype, and it is 100% not how I think it went for most people.
Yeah. So just to conclude, like my overall thoughts, it's like I really like this game, but I feel like the controls and some of the design choices kind of get in the way of just like a really awesome story that I want to know more about. So that's kind of how I feel about it overall. But
Do you think, Cody, that the 22-minute? So you just said that you were sure there was some back and forth with the developers about that 22-minute time loop. Do you think it's
Yeah.
because that is pretty much the exact length of a 30-minute TV show minus ads? Like if you watch
22
something
minutes.
that was
that's
on
interesting
TV
too. That's an
at one
interesting
time and
thought,
you watch it
yeah.
on Netflix, it's usually like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just like
That's an interesting
that's a
thought.
unit of time people seem to understand, and they
Yeah.
went with that.
Yeah.
Because I would say
Right.
like what you're saying, like an hour would have no meaning. Like I don't think it would necessarily like not have a meaning, or like it would feel like too much time, but it would definitely like surprise me. Every hour I would be like, holy shit, it's been an hour? I cannot believe it's been a whole hour.
right.
But
Yeah.
22 minutes is
Right.
like, it's like enough RAM in my stupid dumb guy brain that I'm able to like store that much data in my head. So I think it works for 22 minutes pretty well.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that was like an intentional
Yeah, that's an interesting
parallel. Casper.
When I first started, I thought that the 22 minutes was too short too. But eventually it kind of clicked where it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is the right amount of time, because you can only do certain things at certain times. And if you had to wait an hour for like something to happen,
Yeah.
it would probably really suck.
That's true.
That'd be rough.
That is true. Yeah.
You can wait at like the
sleep.
campfires,
Yeah.
and you can sleep. And apparently you can even meditate, which I didn't even know about. But a friend was telling me if you talk to one of the
My ass.
astronauts, they teach you how to meditate, and it passes time.
Huh.
So you don't even have to be at a
Oh,
campfire.
that's
Interesting.
busted. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wish I knew
Hidden
that.
mechanics. Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I guess you have to find. I kind of wish they just gave you that instead of the campfire.
Right.
But overall, I enjoyed the game. I definitely see why people loved it, and I really liked it. Like pretty much halfway through the game, that's when I was really into it. But I do think it's better in short bursts. Like if you're playing it from beginning to finish, at least for me, I
Yeah.
don't think I could do that.
This is a game you're meant to put down, I think. You're meant to like play it for a couple
Yeah.
hours and then put it down and just think about it for a couple days.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty much how I felt about it.
Yeah. Joe, what are your thoughts? Our lovely guest.
Yeah, so if I get ahead of myself, just like tell me to slow down because I absolutely
Go
love
nuts,
this game.
dude. Go nuts. Our listeners will absolutely love it.
This might be like my greatest game of all time, in my opinion.
Wow.
Bold
statement.
It really kind of like filled me out, and it just hits all the themes I enjoy. It hits the theme of like exploration for the sake of exploration, like just going out there and discovering things. The kind of theme of like becoming, I guess, the inevitability of like death and entropy, right? But on top of that, probably more importantly, is becoming comfortable with death and entropy, and the fact that like someday, you know, everything's going to end no matter how hard you try, and that sort of stuff. Also, just time in general, I think, is a fun thing to play around with.
Yeah.
But I just fell in love with the game pretty much instantly. As soon as I like launched up in the spaceship for the first time and kind of like rolled around the world and screwed up, like I crashed like right back down into the planet. Right? I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, whoa, I'm in space and I'm flying around and I'm doing all this crazy stuff. Like I got really into the whole exploration part of it, and I was just trying to find things. And there's like we'll get into it later, but there's like the sun station that's like going around the sun, and it's really, you can get to it with just your ship, but it's really hard to.
Oh, really? So, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so what I was trying to do was in real life, like up in space and crap, NASA will use a gravity assist. Literally of a planet, and they'll use the gravity of the planet to speed up their spacecraft. So I was in the game trying to gravity assist myself around planets to get enough speed to get to the sun station, like with timing and everything. Like I was just spending hours just messing around in the game, having fun. I really enjoy the like physics of it too. So
yeah, definitely. I get the vibe that the physics was like probably like an early development, and they were like really excited about that, right? Like because the game is very much like a simulation in that way.
I can talk a lot about like the history of the game. It was some art student in like California. He was going to like UCB or some crap, or UCA or whatever the hell the school is. It was like he had a few classes where he just came up with like a bunch of different prototypes, and he was personally interested in physics, and so he had like one prototype that was just the spaceship flying around, and another prototype was the probe launcher thing that you have, and so he ended up like kind of mashing all these little ideas together into this little prototype game, and then it started winning tons of awards at these like indie conferences and stuff. And a friend of his had opened up his own game studio, so his friend was like, "Yo, come over, we'll make this game together," and rock and roll, here we are, Outer Wilds.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So
Yeah,
it was just like his
name's
student work just crammed together, basically.
Yeah, his name is Alex Beecham, and he went to
Right on,
he
man.
went to USC, University of Southern California,
There we go.
and went to the master's. They have a master's school called the Interactive Media and Games Division, which is where this game started out as his thesis. So yeah, basically what you said, pretty much to the T. But it's cool. Yeah, it's crazy. It's always interesting.
Yeah, Annapurna, man. Same as we're talking about Devolver Digital.
Nothing but bangers.
They're nothing but bangers, man.
Yeah, my buddy. I was at my buddy's house today. Not probably not a super COVID safe thing to do, but we sat kind of far apart. We wore masks, and he was showing me. I'd never been to his apartment, so he was just showing me around, and I was looking at his game shelf, and he had like a PS4 collection of Annapurna games. That was like, it was like a fucking Tarantino collection or whatever. Like it was like one box with like
the box
15 PS4 games in this one box. I'd never seen anything like it in my life.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty.
It's really cool, and it's like very clear that since cause so Annapurna is like they did movies first. They're like an indie movie producer.
Oh, okay.
And games are a thing they've tacked on since. So it goes to show like that they are related to movies, because that felt very movie-like to package games, in that way.
Right.
So yeah, Annapurna is great. They made what did they make that I really liked? What Remains of Edith Finch is one of my favorite games ever.
Wasn't that one of the very earlier ones?
Yeah, it was one of I had never heard of them before that. It looks like it was the first game they produced.
Okay,
or published or whatever. They did that. Yeah. They did a re-release of Flower, which had come out forever ago on the PS3, 2009. Flower's a cool game.
Oh, 2017 is when they started publishing.
And then they did Florence,
that's crazy.
which if you guys haven't played Florence, I recommend that. That's like a mobile game about like a woman
A
and
relationship,
her
right?
relationship. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could probably talk forever about Annapurna. I'll get to my thoughts on this game really quick, my overall thoughts. So I bounced off it about a baker's dozen times. So we've had about 4 weeks to play this game because of the whole control interim thing. And partially because I really would rather have been playing Yakuza, I kept bouncing. Like, I'd play like one loop and I'd just be like, I don't fucking get it. Like, it's not doing it for me. But I think now I get it. Like, I looked at the computer, I think for the first time, and I saw the like things pop up, like the map, the narrative map, which I think is a very cool mechanic, and it showed how
it's really
everything
genius.
that I've learned is interconnected, and I was like, oh, I want to fucking finish this map, like I want to see the bounds of this map, and I think that even if you can't appreciate the like narrative structure necessarily from a storytelling perspective, you can appreciate this map as like a game mechanic. Like, you want to know. You want to complete your Pokédex, right? Like, it's a similar thing. You want to know how things all connect. So, I will say, like, the narrative itself didn't grab me. Like, the exploration for the sake of exploration wasn't doing it for me. But now that I've seen how everything I know is interconnected, dude, I want to know. Yeah. I want to know everything.
That's how it was too. It's like, you want to know. You want to solve like the mystery, right? And it turns out the mystery you want to solve is something that like the people before you, which I'm sure we'll get into, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe and Casper, like, but they haven't, solved it all the way.
Not solved it, no.
So you're like kind of carrying on. You're like, okay, what, picking up what they did and kind of building on top of it. And in that way, like you're saying, Evan, like finish off
your Pokédex.
This map.
Yeah.
I think the map is genius where it's like, it's not as open-ended as it seems at first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because each planet has an objective, something you're supposed to kind of pick up, and it leads you to the next one. It's like, okay, you heard talk of this thing on this planet, so now that pops up on your map. Now okay, I have an objective.
Yeah, I can go over there and check it out, and that's not just random flavor text that means nothing. Like, they are talking about something that I can go verify, which is very cool. I guess so. Oh, sorry, go Casper.
I just want to say that, like, on the map too, that if there was more to explore, it tells you that. It just says there's more to explore here.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that. But that's cool.
I like it because you're not left wondering, like, oh, do I have to keep exploring here and die every 20 minutes until I find everything?
Yep. Yeah. Like, they tell you, all right, you're done. Don't worry about it.
Don't waste your time, bucko. So I mean, I think that's as good a topic as any to jump into first. Like, I mean, the narrative of the whole thing, I think it's always a challenge for any developer to create a compelling narrative in an open world game that feels like it fits into the open world, right? So, like, I don't know. Have you guys ever watched Nakey Jakey on YouTube? Because this guy so
Nakey Jakey's great.
I don't know if you've seen his video about Rockstar narratives, but he has a really good video about not Rockstar narratives, explaining how the narrative elements of that game completely contradict the open world elements of the game, right? Like, you are like set free, and then you are pushed into a very specific sequence of events. Whereas this game, it does what I think, Rockstar should be doing, and what, I don't know, he might even bring this game up in that video, I forget. But, like, the narrative is dispersed throughout the open world, and you don't actually have to do anything in any particular order. I at least as far as I got into it.
You're right.
You start at this. Everyone starts at the same point, but after that, the narrative that you piece together is entirely up to you and up to your experience in the open world. Which
there definitely is a set path.
You think? Okay,
yeah,
there is.
So you
like,
definitely
but it's not like
it's one of those, like, again, you're right though. Like, it depends on who you talk to and how you go, but like it's kind of recommended to you, like, okay, go to the moon of the first planet.
Right.
You go to the moon of the first planet and you find the ruins, and then you go through the ruins and you say, oh, Rybeck went to the planet that's falling apart, brittle something.
Brittle Hollow.
Brittle Hollow. And you go to Brittle Hollow and you can't get into the observatory for some reason. And then you find a note from Ryback that says, oh, go here. Like there is like a kind of path, but it's not easy to stay on that path.
Yeah, I think like to both of your guys' points, right? Like let's say Joe, you skip over that note and you didn't see it. And
it's
like
pure
let's say
luck.
I went to the sand planet, right? And I skip everything from there to there, but I still ended at the same place. But even stuff on the sand planet would point me back to Brittle Hollow.
The thing.
You know
I
what
say,
mean? So
I
it's
say
kinda
there's
like,
a path, but that path disappears at some point.
Right.
Eventually, it just kind of goes away, and you're kind of just stuck. Just there's clues that point to clues, and clues that point to nowhere, and clues that point to three clues at the same time, and like all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so you kind of end up going down this weird ass path. But that initial, I think that's their goal. I believe that was the goal of the developers, at least, was for that initial. You start from the main planet, go to the moon, go to Brittle Hollow. Like that's kind of they want you to take those first 3 steps.
So I have a question for you guys as people who presumably got a fair amount farther than I did. Is there any kind of Metroidvania style gating? Like, am I going to get an ability that's going to open this world up, or is it I can really pretty much?
No.
Yeah, okay. So
You could
I
beat
think
the game in like 20 minutes, I think.
if you like knew what to do somehow, like
the speed run is 10
Right.
minutes and like 58 seconds.
yeah. So if you
There's
if
no
you
glitches probably, right?
No
Yeah.
glitches. Yep.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating. Cause and like with the moon thing, that's not what I did. Like I went to the moon, I didn't see the ruins. I saw the guy
hanging
who was
out,
camping on the moon. I landed there, talked to him. He said to go to the North Pole and try to find some signals. I did that instead of going to the ruins. I heard the harmonica player who is supposedly on the home planet. I was like, that's fucking weird. Flew back to the home planet, found the vine and from the dark bramble, flew to dark bramble, found him in the dark bramble. And like that was like the first thing I did.
I'm sure we'd all have different paths too if we talked about like what we did.
For me, when I very first started, I crash landed back on the planet because I didn't realize how much thrust you needed to get off.
I think everybody does.
So
I think that's one thing that's constant between everybody's playthroughs. They always crash.
Did anyone else jump in the geyser at the beginning and nuke themselves? Because I did.
Oh, I did. Yeah, you just jumped in.
You get an achievement like dead in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
But I jumped, or I just held the thrust and I made sure I was off from the planet enough, and I looked around, and as I'm looking around, I crash land into the Brittle Hollow.
Moon. Oh.
No,
Okay.
That's how far I went. I just
Yeah,
held it
you
for
went
so
really
long.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up just hitting into the Brittle Hollow, and then I just started exploring from there.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
cool how you can just go to different places.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I'm fascinated to learn that there is no real like Metroidvania style gating, because I figured there would be at some point, but that's so I
Yeah,
really
I
if
think-
if you're curious enough,
It's just
you
a
can
knowledge
finish the
gate.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You could theoretically have guessed your way to the end at some point. That's pretty cool.
And we can talk about the ending and how you get there at some point here.
Yeah, definitely.
Real quick, I got a quick question for you guys. It's kind of off topic from like the story narrative talk that we're having. Did you guys fall into the black hole of Brittle Hollow?
Yeah, I did not.
Yeah.
Okay, Evan, fall into the black hole next time you play,
Fall
dude.
into the black hole.
Because like, that's one of those things. Like, it was like jaw dropping. I was like, this is insane. This is so cool.
All I've done to purposefully kill myself is driving to the sun. And I guess the geyser. I didn't think I would die from the geyser, but I drove into the sun just to see what would happen, and was thoroughly disappointed because it kind of the screen just kind of went black, and I was like, oh. I thought I would like burn up.
Cody, the black hole is probably one of my favorite parts of the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's sick.
This game is like teaching you. Like at first you kind of die pretty easily, right? And so
Definitely.
at first I'm afraid of death, right? I'm scared of everything. And it's killing, you're dying over and over, and you're afraid of death. And then when you're exploring Brittle Hollow, eventually you're going to fall into that black hole. Like it's just going to happen. There's too much platforming and weird crap to do and stuff moving. Like you're going to fall in that black hole eventually. And so you're just like, oh no, this is scary. Like I'm about to die. I'm about to die. I'm about to die. And then you come out the other side. And it's like, whoa, I'm not dead. And you can kind of float in space.
Yeah, it's very tricky to talk about this game and decide kind of what we do want to spoil.
I'm spoiling everything.
Because like, spoiling
Yeah, it's a
everything.
spoiler
So
cast.
Evan,
We go crazy on the show, and
So Evan, Joe kind of alluded to it. You don't die when you fall in a black hole.
Okay.
It's like one of the coolest like visually insane things that I've seen in a video game.
You come out a white hole,
Right.
pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, and you're on like the very edge of this solar system, and you find out that they've developed this kind of like teleportation technology
Based on
like
black holes.
Yeah, so
I thought
you're like,
you
oh,
guys were
shit,
gonna
so
say that I get like spaghettified or whatever. Like
Yeah.
what happens when you really go
Oh,
into
that
a
would
black
be cool
hole?
too. Yeah.
I just remember being so scared to fall into that thing, and then eventually I was falling in.
Yeah.
I was literally like, no, and then I'm in space.
Yeah.
I will say, like, Brittle Hollow was kind of tough, like just like you're saying, Joe, because of all the platforming.
Brittle
stuff.
Hollow is probably the hardest
so-
planet to like figure out.
Okay,
I would
yeah.
say.
Yeah, because you have to.
And
I didn't even figure it out clearly.
And it's the
Yeah.
big problem with Brittle Hollow, although the twins too are very time based, but Brittle Hollow is
Yeah.
extremely
Yeah.
time based. If you don't get to Brittle Hollow fast enough, certain things are just gone. They've disappeared.
yeah, like the parts are falling in, and it's like,
And-
oh shit, okay, now I can't
But
do
that's
it
kind
because
of
it's gone.
that's one of my favorite parts of the game too. Again, a lot of favorite parts, right? It's just like all those timings, right? You have to get to the
Yeah.
Ash Twins by a certain time. You have to get to the Sun Station by a certain time, or you have to get to the Ash Twins after a certain time, like after 10 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever. You know, I love
yeah.
that.
I only figured out
interesting,
how to
yeah.
get into the Tower of Quantum Knowledge on Brittle Hollow by accident.
Oh, yep.
And I feel like that would have been a pain if you were trying to figure that out on your own.
I spent a long
Right.
time trying to get in there. I was
Yeah.
like messing around in one of the ruined cities. I was like trying to shoot my probe in places. I was trying to mess with gravity in places. I was like just trying to get there. I couldn't get there. I was like,
Yeah.
what? I had to give up on it. You know, I'd go somewhere else. do
Take a
something else.
break. Yeah.
That's pretty much what I did too. And the next time I went back, that's how I figured it out by accident.
Yeah, I will say, eventually, like falling into the black hole gets kind of old.
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, now I'm like way fucking far away. I'm gonna do my thing here to get back to the planet, and it's gonna eat up so much time. So it becomes more of a nuisance.
Is there any
than
quick way
anything.
to
But the
kill
first time,
yourself? Can you just
Yeah,
like hold
'cause-
your breath until you die?
yeah. Oh, I've died in space. You guys have died in
Oh,
space,
that was
right?
the second time I died. I got out of my ship without putting my suit on, and I was like, "What's that sound?" And he was like,
It's terrifying.
and then he goes, screen went black, and I was like, I died.
That
Yeah.
was a big problem I had at the end because there's a lot of time-based stuff near the end, and I would just like rush into
Yeah.
certain places. And I would forget to put my suit on, and I would just
Yeah.
die. Even though it was so late in the game, I would.
I've
still
done that a
die
couple
to die.
times. I've rushed to a place and then literally like opened the hatch and gone outside and just suffocated to death. 'Cause I didn't have my suit on.
Yeah.
Beginners and experts,
Sometimes
this
the-
mistake. It's no learning.
And I think, right, and I think this is kind of like where it gets into what I was talking about earlier, where the game gets in its own way. Like the physics, like we're talking about, they are like pretty realistic, right? So when I'm outside and trying to like orientate myself and like,
I think the word's
boost
just
up
orient,
this way,
not
but too
orientate.
high.
But anyway,
Oh yeah, you're right. But I'm just trying to like boost around and like get exactly where I need to do to like open the hatch or whatever. It's like, okay, all right.
By the end, you're like a pro, kind of.
You get like really good.
Yeah.
It really
okay.
is a skill you pick
That's
up.
fair.
yeah, I thought, yeah, and that was one of the reasons I kept bouncing off of it was because of the kind of clunkier controls. Because I think they are like, yeah, very simulation based. But now I
Right.
get it. Now I'm gonna keep playing the game. I think even after this call, I might hop back in and start playing it some more.
Cool.
Since Joe had brought up the needing to be at a certain place at a certain time, I mean, I think that we would be remiss not to bring up Majora's Mask at some point. So
The creator of Outer Wilds, he openly admits that like Zelda is one of his biggest influences in
yeah,
like,
I mean,
games.
like definitely, like and narratively, like the reason I bring it up during this time is because, like this game seems very much like you had said earlier about I have a hair in my mouth, the cat hair. They get everywhere. Cat hairs. They just get all over the place. It's very much about like the inevitability of the end, you know. And so is Majora's Mask. Like the moon's crashing into the world, and it's gonna end it in 3 days. So it's funny to think about how Majora's Mask is a 3-day sequence, and this is a 22-minute sequence, and like
Yeah.
the difference in like the media we consumed and how we consumed it in 1998, 9, whatever, like. That is the blockbuster to this is Netflix, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah, I get
that was a
that. Yeah, I
much
get that.
slower, longer burn, and this is a much tighter loop.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it's just fascinating. It really synthesizes down what I think Majora's Mask was doing and attempting to do, and it just presents it in a way that is probably more palatable for a modern audience.
Right.
So have you guys played Majora's Mask?
No, I have not.
No. Everyone.
None of you guys have played Majora's Mask? That's fucked up. You've at least played Ocarina of Time,
I've only played
right?
Breath of the Wild. That's the only Zelda game I've played.
Majora's Mask is like the only Zelda game I haven't played. It's on my list. And
Okay. Casper gets a pass. Joe doesn't get a pass. Cody.
Is it on the Switch?
Yeah, is it on the Switch? Could I?
No, it's on the 3DS.
Play on 3DS, yeah.
Yeah,
Although
actually,
I think the
without
3DS
pirating it,
version
where
is-
can I play Majora's Mask?
You can play it on the 3DS or the 3DS.
Okay, so I have to
or
buy
go
a
get an
3DS.
N64. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or-
If you go to
There's all these barriers.
If you
in
still
my-
have a Wii, you might be able to. If the
do
Wii
have a Wii
shopping
on the Wii
channel is
shop.
still
No, the
online,
Wii shop's closed. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
done.
Oh, they shuttered their doors. Damn
Yeah.
COVID, taking all the businesses that I loved. But that's pretty much it. That's where I played it. Was in the Wii shopping channel on the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah.
Cody, I didn't hear your answer. Have you played it?
I have not. No, I was like, not even.
But I thought you were a Zelda guy.
Yeah,
Didn't you
Evan's upset.
wear a Zelda T-shirt one time?
Oh, I don't have a.
You're not that
I'm
type
not like
of
the
nerd.
biggest Zelda guy. Yeah, I'm a different type of nerd.
Different subgenre of nerd. Okay.
Oh, you like Zelda? Name 5 albums.
All right. Well, I guess we won't get into too much discussion then about Majora's Mask, but suffice to say, they are similar, and I think I won't reiterate my point that I just made, but
I've seen a lot of stuff about Majora's Mask, so I get where you're coming from, because a lot of the characters in that game, aren't they like dead? Like the masks that you wear.
like. Yeah, it's all this like fatalistic subtext to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Which this game too, like this game puts on, I think, a very pleasant tone. At least what I played was like very like, the banjo's
But it's
playing. It's very lighthearted.
Right.
People are
But it's like horrifying.
But it's horrifying what's actually
It's
happening.
really
Yeah.
sad.
It's kind
It's
of
super
funny.
sad.
Yeah.
It's melancholy, I think is the word for it.
Melancholy. Yep.
You find out it's cool too, because it shows how different people will react to the end, because you find out that there's another what are they called, Hearthians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Hearthian that is actually also going through the time loop.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's just laying on a hammock. He's not doing anything. He's just
Yeah,
like,
he's like he's
whatever.
just chilling.
yeah.
yeah.
Damn. Can you imagine if in like Groundhog Day someone else was just chilling with Bill Murray the whole time? Like he had a buddy.
There's actually an Amazon movie whose ad I keep getting served,
yeah.
where it's that. It's like a love
Oh.
story.
Yeah, that one with
Too.
Andy Samberg. Right?
Oh, actually,
There's two.
I'm thinking of a totally
There's
different
two.
movie,
Oh,
but
there's
there is
two
Palm
movies?
Springs
There's
with
two.
Adam Sandler. Palm Springs is really good. I recommend that movie.
That's the Andy
Adam
Samberg one,
Sandler.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's another one where it's like more lovey-dovey.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so
But yeah,
I mean,
a lot of time. The time loops are hot right now, man. Everybody's just hopping on the time loop train.
all right, so I think we kind of, in the summary of the show, we covered the beginning, right? Like, I mean, it's a game about exploration. That's the narrative element. And there's all these pieces that would be so hard to capture, I think, in a description of what is going on, for this show, for the purpose of this show. So I think we should jump to, we lost Casper. We're having technical difficulties, but that's okay.
Well, should we just pause and Casper can cut around this?
Yeah.
You guys
let's-
can just keep going. I'll be right
Okay,
back.
we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going without
Leave that in the
Casper.
show.
Yeah, it's live, baby. We're doing it live. So Cody didn't finish it. I wish Casper was here for this part, but that's okay. Joe finished it. Like, I want to know how all these parts add up, and if you feel satisfied in the way that they all kind of come together at the end, or do they leave too many loose threads or what have you?
I actually am upset Casper's going to miss this because I think the
his
ending
fault.
is pointless.
Oh, okay.
At the end,
Ooh.
at the end of this, the world ends anyway.
Right, you
Like
can't
you're
prevent
not,
it.
you're not stopping this. It's nothing is going to be saved. You're not some hero of some magical story. The world is literally it's entropy, right? Someday the universe is going to end. Like all the stars are going to die slowly. Like it's very far from now. But
Right.
this story is being told in that moment in time where the
Right.
world is literally ending. And you even some of the Nomai, this other species that you're discovering like what they did in the world.
Your kind of precursor people, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You find in the end sequence, you find some text from them in which another group of them are like, hey, this is a message out to everybody. Like, the world is obviously ending. We found like a last little refuge here, and we're just going to kind of they don't say this explicitly, but they're like, oh, things are good here for the meantime, right? They're just partying until the end of the world is what I took away from it, right? Like, they're just going to kind of like hide out for as long as they can and just wait for the end, was kind of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Which is it's a very sad ending, right? And it's made doubly sad, in my opinion, by the fact that you run into a lot of kids, or especially around that opening world. You see a lot of kids just like playing games and stuff. And
They're totally unaware of what's going on.
And specifically your character, like, you just achieved your dream. Your dream is to explore space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And literally minutes later, the world ends. It's like, oh shit, man, that sucks, you know?
That does suck.
Yeah, because if you didn't get caught in this time loop,
right, everything would just be over.
Yeah, so that kind of brings up an interesting point. Like, I try to talk to the first dude when you wake up. There's nothing new. He never says anything new. But I actually haven't gone into the village and seen if you try to explain what's happening to other people, like how they react. If there is an option to do that.
Yeah, I don't think there is. To be honest, I never really went. Okay. When I first played through the game, I talked to every villager, pretty much, and then
I talked to everybody.
Never went back and talked to them again, to be honest. So I don't know if they change or anything, but
yeah, I don't know if there's any reason to, but yeah. So I'm just trying to think, like, no one knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And the only person that doesn't give a shit. He's chilling on a hammock.
Yeah.
You guys talk about the end?
So it's like,
we're talking about the end. So I'll reiterate the question really quick. Casper, do you feel like the end of this story, the culmination of all the threads that make up this crazy net of a story, do you think it ends in like a satisfying way?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys say how it ends, or?
I talked about
basically.
that.
A little bit, just that nothing happens.
The world ends.
And like,
the universe ends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a better word. Universe is a much better word. Yeah.
Reality ends.
Right.
It's really sad in a way, but it's also kind of nice because after the universe ends, it starts again.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an end credit scene. They say like 14 point something billion years later, and then there's just in the corner there's a little campfire sparks up, and there's just, you can't tell. They look a little bit like the species you are, but they're like probably some other They're kind of a more buggy species. They're clearly something different, right? It's like the cycle. The big cycle is beginning again, right?
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Not to throw it back to Zelda again, but have you guys played Link's Awakening?
No.
Okay, so you can play it on Switch. That's they remade it 2 years ago for Switch.
Oh, that's the one they remade. Yeah, that's the one with the really cool art style.
Yeah, on the Switch it's got like a diorama style art style, but really great game. Obviously, this is a spoiler cast, so I'm gonna spoil it. The game. It's all a dream, and it's like pretty heavily implied throughout. It's not like one of those annoying ends where you're like, what? It's all a dream? Like, what's that bullshit? Yeah. But like, it's kind of like heavily implied throughout the story. Like, this is a dreamlike world. Like, things aren't as they seem. And eventually you like end the dream. Like, you cause the dream to end. And it has that's kind of similar melancholy, like, oh, we lost Casper again, but that's okay. It has a similar melancholy thing where you're like, oh, it's all ending. But like, Link wakes up and like life goes on, and like there's something after the nothingness that is, you know,
that's cool.
Creation or destruction begets creation, or what have you.
God,
like,
I need to play the Zelda games, don't I?
Yeah, dude, they're awesome. It's insane that you've only played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I will say that Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening are by far the most like narratively upsetting, like, or interesting, I guess. Like, nothing really happens in Ocarina of Time or any of the IMO in any of the other ones.
Okay.
But those two I would like highly recommend if you are into stories about futility.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but I am. Like, I enjoy thinking about this type of stuff. I really enjoy this type, thinking about, like, sometimes I lay in bed and I'm like, what the fuck's the point of anything, right? Like, why do I even go to work tomorrow?
Welcome to the club.
Right.
Yeah, dude, we're on a fucking rock floating through space and we're paying bills, dude.
But I think that's what this game is its goal is, right?
Yeah, totally. Wants you to think about it.
Finding the happiness in that, right? And it's like, okay, it all ends, but you still have a lot of time between then and now. And so it's about
22 minutes.
Right. It's about fighting that entropy, right? It's about waking up in the morning and saying, fuck you, like, I'm going to have a great freaking day. I'm going to literally just take life by 22 minutes at a time. And I'm going to learn as much as I can in those 22 minutes. I'm going to have as much fun as I can in those 22 minutes. And if it all ends, fuck it. Like, we're just here to keep moving forward, never stop, always one step, right? Like, that's what this game is trying to tell you, in my opinion.
Joe has a lot of feelings about this.
I do.
Yeah.
I think you can measure art in two ways. There's what the creator was trying to get you to feel, right?
Okay.
And so you can measure art and okay, here's what they wanted you to right.
Sure.
And then there's what you get out of it. And regardless of what the author intended. And I've read a lot about the author of the author I keep saying, but the creators in general of this game, right? And what they intended for the game. But what I got out of it was, again, I'm getting ahead of I don't know if I'm riding off on a line.
Go crazy. It's all good.
I just don't know. I don't know what to say. I have never had a piece of art. It's about emotion, right? And it's about art is about feeling and understanding emotion and thinking about, like, how you are in the world and who you are and that type of stuff. And I've just never had a piece of art make me feel so much. I was scared and happy and depressed and eccentric and upset and, like, everything all the time. Like, it was just roller coaster rides, right? Yeah. I just freaking loved the game.
Yeah. I love that.
I mean,
I just didn't get
the
that.
more
At
that
least
we're
as far
talking
as, like,
about it,
I wasn't getting that, and now I'm starting to kind of get that. But like, I just kept bouncing off of it because I think I was expecting to feel that way in the first 10 minutes, or something.
Yeah.
And it's a slow burn. Yeah. This game is definitely a slow burn.
And you know what it is, Evan? I bet it's because of, like, coming into this game, I've just heard so much good things about it.
I mean, Joe just put it in probably the best way, but, like, I've heard similar things from other people, friends, reviewers. Like, at
the end of 2019, everybody's like, "Yo, this is game of the year. Right. This is game of the year." And when I first played it, I'm like,
Do you know? You know how I found this game? I was trying to buy Outer Worlds,
Outer Wild,
right? Yeah. I was trying to buy Outer Worlds, and I bought Outer Wilds by accident. And so I was like, "What the hell is going on in this game right now?" Like, I know it's supposed to be in space, right? So I was like, "Oh, I'm in space," and I was walking around, and it wasn't really until I had kind of flown the little fake, the little temporary,
demo ship,
the demo ship. Like I was flying that, and I was like, "This is not this." And then I googled it. I was like, "Oh shit, what am I playing right now?"
Immersive sim by Obsidian Entertainment. What is this?
Yeah,
I bet you that's happened to, like, a ton.
Yeah. They literally
in 2019
have to,
both these games came out.
I feel like they have to, like, almost, like, state that it's not the same game.
So I definitely had that's a great example of, like, how perspective can affect that type of stuff. And
absolutely. And Joe, like, listening to you be so excited about this game, it's like, all right, I'm gonna play this game.
And the discovery stuff too, I really crave that, like, adrenaline heroin rush of, like, discovering something, right? Like, I went to Dark Bramble first, where those little fish are hanging out. If you go into Dark Bramble,
the anglerfish
scared the living shit out of me, right? Like, holy crap, and they kill you so fast.
I got eaten. That was scary. That was upsetting.
Yeah.
But then when you're on the Ash Twins, you start exploring the Ash Twins, and there's some kids were, like, playing in a skeleton of one of these anglerfish, and you start discovering more about the anglerfish and who they are, what they are, and how they work, and how you can hide from them and work with them, and that type of stuff, and, like, what their value is to you, and just, like, holy shit, like, this is literally on a different planet across the solar system, and I'm learning about these things. I just really love that.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of interweaving the, like, world building into the game. You know,
you'll go to 3 planets and you'll discover 3 totally different things, and then you'll go to a 4th planet and you'll finally understand how those 3 things like interact with each other, right?
It's cool.
And I love those moments of like, and the problem with this game though, and I think I said this on the Into the Breach episode, was sometimes it is a little hard to make those connections, and like I put hours into the game, right, of like trying to figure out where you know how these things connect, and putting the game down and thinking about it for a long time, and that's like not what people expect from games, right? Like you're gonna have like your 12-hour campaign or your 40 hours of reading content, right? And I don't know, it was just this was a fresh breath of air for me.
Oh, I wanted to say, being the game, I kind of felt like Joe did at certain parts. A few hours in, I kind of felt like that sense of exploration. Like once you kind of start to figure out how to move right and where you're gonna go next. Like, oh, I haven't went here next, or I haven't went here yet, so I'll go there next. And but I feel like, at least for me, the game just kind of made me felt sad once you figured out what happened. So like why?
Yeah,
it's depressing.
Why the other race is gone? Like they were just gone by accident, and then
right, because you like initially, you know, you start out with the translator device, right? And so like I guess you're the first person to use it in space, right? So you're kind of like the first one discovering these things, and you're seeing like the dead bodies everywhere, like just the skeletons and stuff. So yeah, that is like a narrative thread that's like, oh shit, that's sad as hell.
Evan, you were asking earlier, like, is it a satisfying ending? And
does it all tie together?
We talked about how it's like a depressing ending because the world ends and all this stuff. But as for the mystery, I believe all the like questions that I had got answered by the end.
That's good.
There's not any like, oh, this is just a mystery to be a mystery. Like it's you learn about the Nomai and who they are and what they were doing and how they died and all that stuff.
I think
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah. Technically, the eye of the universe is still a mystery. It's just like no one knows what that is.
That's true. Right.
That's just like cosmic.
Right. It's a cosmic MacGuffin.
Right. It is. It quite literally is.
Cool. Do you guys have any other thoughts on the story? Or should we jump into one of our other sections? All right. No one said shit.
Good or cut me off.
I think I'm trying to think of the one like the next, because we kind of talked about gameplay. Maybe we can expand on that.
Yeah, I was thinking gameplay
more
next because we've kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, so like I've talked about how the controls like I feel are not the best in this game.
I'm in your camp, Cody, on this one.
Yeah. I don't know how it could have been. It just feels clunky, right? I think that's just like the best word to describe it. It's just clunk. There's a lot of clunk.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you get more used to it. When
I hate to just defend the crap out of the game, right?
Go for it.
No,
I almost think the clunkiness of the controls, I don't want to say it's intentional, but that's kind of just like you are interacting in space, right? And so these are jets of air that are shooting out of your spacecraft and your thing. And those, try to be an astronaut, right? Like they train for hundreds of hours to fly those suits. In situations that aren't being hardly like extremely affected by gravity, right? They're just like literally floating in microgravity like around the Earth, barely able to control these things. And now we're hopping into them in this like crazy gravity filled world, like trying to fly around and figure out what the hell is going on. But I don't want to defend it that much. Like there's a line here.
Like to that point, I agree with you. Like they're clearly, I think I said this earlier, but they're clearly going for like a physics simulation based movement system. Like that's clearly what they're going for. But is that to say that is the most fun? Or certainly when you're just wandering the surface of a planet, does that kind of also have to be the case necessarily? And I think there's arguments to both ways. I did discover right before we started playing that there's an autopilot. So that helped me with my annoying.
Be careful with that, because
I crashed into a planet though when I first used it.
It's just a straight line pilot is really all
I'm
it
like,
is.
that's not really. I don't know. Come on, you guys. The universe is about to end. Shouldn't technology be capable of not crashing me into a planet? Thank you. But
sometimes you'll fly into the sun. Sometimes
that was another thing that was kind of sad though about the story is that this species just became like a spacefaring species.
Right,
And the universe is
just
over.
nuked. Yeah,
That's
done
it.
for.
Yeah.
Sad.
So I think I'm trying to think like so every planet is like a puzzle in a sense, right? Would you guys agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them have multiple puzzles. I would say like the
Right.
Hollow one specifically has like 3 or 4, but
So that's kind of like the other aspect of this game. You're going around, and to accomplish this goal, to learn this information, you kind of have to complete a puzzle, whether that's like platforming or jumping here at the right time or being on this planet at this specific interval.
It's very much like a puzzle solving game. Zelda.
Yeah. Something that kind of I wasn't really understanding like how the quantum puzzles in this game, like I guess I don't understand like the rules of it, and I don't want to look it up because I'm trying to.
As you explore, it will tell you.
Yeah.
You like.
Okay, so I just need to explore more.
If that is a great thing to say, Casper. Actually, I think is if you hit a hurdle in this game, just stop and go to a different planet for a little bit. Like,
okay, that's great because I'm trying to do it like. I'm on the sand planet. I'm trying to do shit on the sand planet, and the sand planet like fuck it sucks, and I hate it.
I did the sand planet.
And it makes
last.
it not play anymore.
I didn't like that planet, so I just saved it for last. And
that's actually that kind of that helps a lot because now you just know.
It really is probably like one of the last places that you have to go through story wise.
Okay.
So if you don't like my philosophy was if I don't like this planet, I'm not going to go to it until later.
So Evan, you asked, are there like there's quantum stuff?
Yeah.
I've only seen like 2, but there is talk of like the quantum moon, which I guess is pretty important story wise.
There's this material in the world that
the weeping angel stuff.
Yeah, I don't. Right, and that stuff. Yeah, it moves around. You have to stay looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. So
the quantum stuff
some
was
of those
cool,
puzzles are weird.
but
which one?
just like all the quantum stuff in general was pretty cool. It was one of the more interesting parts. Once you figure out how it works, it is kind of tricky, but it's actually kind of cool. I don't really know much about quantum physics, but I'm pretty sure.
I thought you were an expert as a co-host of 90% podcast. You're supposed to be an expert in quantum physics.
But for what I do know, it's pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be.
The physics of the world are perfectly accurate, except the gravity on the planets is intentionally like
increased,
driven up, because that drives a lot of the kind of moving crap.
Well, in general, aren't the planets like super close? Like,
that too. I mean, it's like the solar system is far too small. 12 kilometers between planets. You joshing me? That's a trip to fucking Walmart, bub. So we talked a little bit about the movement. We talked about how each like world is kind of its own like complicated sequence of puzzles. I was just curious, like what you guys thought about. From what I've gathered, the kind of 2 main ways you interact with the world are through, other than talking to other people, or 3 is the translator, your sentry gun or whatever, the scout gun, the thing that shoots a camera, and your frequency search thing, your radio gun. You got a camera gun, you got a word gun, you got a radio gun. So I was just curious what your guys' thoughts are on those, like if they are all, I just want to know, do you feel like they're all kind of equally used throughout the game, or like does the game lean more heavily on one of those mechanics? In my experience, like
sure.
The text one,
Text one.
Yeah.
That makes sense because you want to know that gates all your knowledge about the people who preceded you, right?
Yeah. If I was to put them in a line, the text one is used all the time. The probe one, it doesn't really become useful until you understand, like maybe halfway. You got to get like halfway through the mystery, I guess, to kind of understand why that's like important. And
is that for like the quantum stuff?
It's important for puzzles,
right? Yeah. It's important for the quantum stuff because
I haven't
used it like at all. Smart. Maybe that's why I'm an idiot.
You have to look at the quantum stuff for it to not disappear, and if you shoot your thing at it, then you'll have a photo of it, so you're always looking at it type of situation. Then the radio or the radio gun or the sound gun or whatever is probably used the least. but in my opinion, it's the coolest.
It is useful.
It is something
it's
very
really sick.
Not mystical, but adventurous, I guess is the word I'll go for, where you like just turn your radio into the sky and you hear a banjo strumming and you're like, that's where I'm gonna fucking go.
I have a question for you guys. Did you ever end up in a scenario where multiple lined up together?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, because it would probably play. It plays the
That
theme
is
song.
beautiful
right,
when they
the main
all
menu.
line up. And I believe there's a moment where
Yeah.
every planet lines up and you can shoot your thing at it. I believe it's necessary for a puzzle, and you do your thing at it, and they all play together in a nice little symphony.
That's
It's
beautiful.
it's amazing.
No, I
That's
had
sick.
two overlap,
badass.
and I was like, oh, I can kind of hear two at the same time. I thought you were about to say it's super annoying when they were all overlap.
no.
It's beautiful.
This might be our transition.
Well, I
to the
assume they
music
just
here.
play the theme song, right? Don't they just play the theme song from
all
the
together.
title?
Yeah, it's
Or-
just that
That's
big fat
beautiful.
theme
Okay.
song. Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good transition as any for the sound design, and so, I mean, the banjo, the guitar, the music in this game, I think this would also bleed into the aesthetic conversation about the game, but it's very rustic. This game is extremely rustic.
Yep. You're flying a wooden spaceship.
I know, it's ridiculous, right? Like, and like I think so. I have this theory of villages in improbable places as like a way. I don't know if I think I've brought it up on the podcast before, but definitely not in the Into the Breach episode you were on. But like a way that I think storytellers, specifically games and maybe like movies, will like try to break your connection to reality, is to just break like a basic intuition of the way things should work, which namely is like, does this make sense to build like a village here? Like in this one, like this fucking crater with tons of ramps to get everywhere. It's a terrible place. There's flat land up above you. Go move there, dude. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And the same thing with like the spaceship being made of wood. You know, it's like these they set these precedents of things that don't necessarily make sense. And I don't know. Yeah, I think it works for this game, especially with the whole rustic theme.
I do like that because they're not like a super advanced race. They're just using technology that they found from the I always forget what they're called, but the old aliens.
The Nomai.
Nomai. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that though. It's cool. It's like all analog and stuff mixed with super technology they don't understand.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. I really enjoy the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think, I don't know if this is totally accurate, but like we're talking about the cycle of life and stuff. So your race of people, the
Harthians.
Harshians, yeah. I like to think like that species has only like they're evolving like really, really quickly.
Okay.
Because there's some lines of dialogue. I don't know. This probably isn't the case, but I like to think like this
your head canon,
like generations are like really fast and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because they're evolving very quickly. If that makes any sense, because I feel like there's some like dialogue where they're like, oh, like because you were training like from a very young age to go out and explore. And like there's some dialogue where they talk about like, oh, like it was just yesterday or whatever when you were
I think
training in the
people
zero
say
gravity
that
thing.
shit, like human beings say that shit, Cody. Like,
yeah, but I like to think because of it ties into the aesthetic too, where it's just like their shit's made out like wood and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
So their technology is like accelerating like very fast.
I think it's more like
Um,
they're like us kind of, but they already have just like an advanced technology that they can work with, where we had to build up from scratch.
yeah.
I see. Yep, that makes sense too.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure they don't explicitly talk about it, but the old race, they talked about how they don't want to mess with the life
Yeah, I
on
remember
here in
that.
case it involves.
Okay.
And it was like millions of years since they died, so it probably was natural.
That makes sense.
I would think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there is like an explicit line that where they talk about that.
So
we were talking about music, right?
I was gonna say, yeah, we've gotten pretty far away from sound, but we're getting into like the graphics and stuff a little bit. I mean, before we dive into the way, like more about the aesthetic or any of our final thoughts on that, do we have any final thoughts on the sound? I mean,
I
think
wanted to say, Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I listened on Spotify the soundtrack, like the main theme,
Yeah.
before I even knew about the game. I just really
okay.
love the main theme, just like the whistling.
Yeah,
and
it's really good.
The instruments.
Yeah.
It's just great, and I didn't actually know that it came from this game until I started playing it.
That's funny.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Andrew Pralow. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He is the composer. And yeah, he did a good job, man. That's all I'll say, I guess. I will say I felt like the game didn't have a ton of sound effects. Like it didn't. Maybe you know we've
Not really, right?
yeah,
You
right. Like nothing.
Some air blasts, you know, a
Yeah.
little suffocating noise.
Yeah.
Sun explosion.
Yeah.
noise.
Some crash sounds. I guess there
I
are
think-
like ambient noises, I guess.
Yeah, there's pretty good
yeah.
ambient noises, and I think it's probably the reason I feel this way is because there are so few ways to like interact with the world around you. Like, you know, you can't really knock stuff over, you can't do a lot, like, but you can use your radio gun and your camera gun, and those all have sounds. It's just, you know, that's a pretty limited thing overall.
Yeah. I'd almost say the spaceship makes the most noise.
Yeah, definitely. It has the most like beeps and boops. So yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about the graphics. I mean, okay. I do
have one last thing to say about the music.
You go.
It's just I love the music so. The trend here is I love the game, right?
Yeah.
I love the music so much. I'm not like a musician. I can play the ukulele a little bit, but I learned how to play a couple of these songs on the ukulele. That's how much I love them.
That's sick. That's
That's
sick.
cool.
But I just wanted to share that because I freaking love the music.
It's like you're at like a campfire and you're like,
Dun,
so
dun,
anyways,
dun,
here's Outer
dun,
Wilds.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Okay, I have a hot take. To follow up that extremely wholesome thing,
Is about the graphics?
yeah, about the graphics. Yo, the Hearthians make me want to fucking throw up. They're so gross. I don't like looking at them. I'm sorry. Like I don't know.
You should look up some of the alpha builds of this game. It was
I thought you were
disgusting.
gonna say like look up like some of the fan
Rule
art.
34 or something?
No, don't go to Rule 30. Yeah, do not stay off the internet for these species. I saw what they did with the species in Mass Effect. We don't want that here.
Yeah, wait, let me look really quick. Outer Wilds. So you guys talk.
The Nomai looked really cool, I thought. But yeah, the Hearthians were
Yeah, the
spooky.
Nomai were cool. Who doesn't
I'm
like a
glad you-
goat guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were cool. I'm glad you only saw the Hearthians on the main planet and then the spacesuits.
Everything else was the suits, yeah. I like how the builds of the Parthians out in space, they're all different.
Yeah.
Like some people will be like super fucking big and like toasting like a little marshmallow or whatever that
Yeah.
Some of them were super small. Just like the little guy.
The peanut.
yeah.
I like the planets too. I liked how distinctive they were from far away.
Oh yeah, for
like
sure.
you could tell,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, that's Bramble or whatever, the Jupiter
Yeah.
planet. What's that one called? The gas giant.
I don't remember
Giants
what the gas giant's called, to be
Deep?
honest.
No. Giants Deep.
Giants Deep,
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the water planet, right?
Yeah.
the water planet.
Dude, so I have like a quick story because you know that's one of the great things about these types of games, right? Is like everybody, you know, has their own stories, right? So the first planet I actually tried to go to, this must have been, I don't even know if this was like for this podcast. I think I was just like trying to play the game, but it just didn't stick with me, and then we picked it up when we decided for this to be an episode. I went to Giants Deep first. I don't know why. It just looked cool.
Good
I was like,
reason
I
as
can
it
go
is.
there. All right, I'm
It
going
makes
there.
sense. When you wake up, the first thing you see is Giants Deep.
Yeah,
Right?
that's what I was trying to think. Right, like I just went straight to it, and I landed, and then I immediately, like almost immediately, get sucked up by like one of
Tornadoes.
and I get shot up. I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" And then I get dropped like a rock, and that was one of my early deaths. And I'm like,
Yeah. Those things are scary.
What did I do?
That scared the crap out of me at first.
yeah, for sure."
And the big one, when I was just kind of flying around, like going through them, I was finally getting comfortable with the little ones. And then I come around like the corner, of the edge of the planet. I'm like, holy shit, that's a big one. Back up. Like,
yeah. Yes, it's like and Brittle Hollow is it falling apart is like one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a game. We talked about falling into the black hole. That's just like a crazy like, and then teleporting from the station after you get sucked up in
Yeah.
the black hole. I
So
forgot what the station's
is
name.
that-
White hole station.
White hole station. Yeah.
White hole station.
Is that
okay.
when
Yep.
you fell through the black hole for the first time? Did you do that immediately? Like, did you go to White hole station and learn how to teleport and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Well, because it was like the only thing nearby, right? Because I
didn't.
if I remember correctly,
I don't know if I didn't see White
so
Hole
you just
Station
died out
or
in
what, but
space?
I tried to make it back
Okay.
to the rest of the
Yeah.
planets, like just on my oxygen supply, and I was just slowly suffocated to death.
You're like, I won't be going there
Yeah, and,
again. No, thank you.
right. But then you get in and you teleport for the first time, and it's like, whoa, that's visually sick too. So I feel like this game is a lot of moments where it's just like, you know, these huge highs, I guess, visually.
Yeah, I mean the supernova of the sun
Yeah.
comes to mind. Like that's like very visually,
Yeah.
you know, engaging. And then a little fun one I noticed is when I was in like this cave in the home planet in what's it called, Timber Hearth.
Timber Hearth.
Timber Hearth?
Yeah. It's in this cave, and I fell to the bottom by accident, and there was a tractor beam to take me back to the top. And I just was like, it was a pretty long tractor beam, so I was just like chilling, and I looked straight up. And the way the particle effects like aligned for the tractor beam, like it was this like spinning square, like it was like a fucking light show, like you know, like I'm going to see Pink Floyd's The Wall, like on at the Portland Observatory or whatever, the USM Observatory.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's cool. Anyone have any other thoughts before we take a quick break?
No, it was just a solid game, I think.
All right, let's do some stamps really quick. I'll go first.
All
I
right.
pretty much never go first.
Cool.
So I'm just gonna big stamp. This is like probably the biggest stamp because I really want people to see it. Like if I really could stamp this, slow burn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's not.
burn,
It's not
yeah.
something like if it wasn't for this show, and having to like feeling an obligation to at least play like a fair amount of this game, I would have bounced off it forever ago. And that's and I don't know. That's not probably necessarily true for everybody, but for anyone like me, I would suggest it is. As of today, I think it is a worthwhile experience. As of right before this call, I was like, oh, I finally get it. And so, you know, if you can spare the time to deal with a slow burn, I think it's worthwhile. Let's throw it to Joe, our guest. You can have a second spot. What's going on that stamp?
Fight entropy.
Fight entropy.
Yeah.
Rage against the dying of the light.
Yeah.
Cody, what's up?
I guess I would say like listen to Joe talk about this game.
I know,
before you
yeah.
play it,
Can I just get like a
now I'm
2-hour
like-
YouTube video of you like ranting by yourself about how much you like this game?
just like why everyone should play this game because like I'm more excited. I'm like, okay, shit, okay,
Yeah.
I know all this stuff
good,
now.
that's good. I'm
I
glad.
want
I'm
to see
getting you guys excited
I want to
for this
get to the ending. Right. I will say I will probably wait for it to come on to Switch.
I know. I might take a break until it's on Switch.
'Cause-
That seems pretty tight.
Yeah, it would probably be
Yeah.
good on that, I think. Just for like the short burst.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my stamp. Just listen to Joe. Listen to this podcast, I guess, because Joe
Yeah.
did this in this
Right.
podcast.
Yeah. Listen to any percent.
Then you'll want to
If
play
you're not
it.
already listening,
Yeah.
listen more.
Yeah. If you're not listening right now, you might want to start. Great. Casper, what's going on that stamp, buddy?
Gravity is deadly. I've tried so many times.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
a good one. True.
Gravity is.
You tried jumping off a bridge. Gravity is deadly. Be careful. It's true. It's true there as it is here. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna take a quick break before we come back to Casper's variety show of destitution. So we'll be right back. What's up, guys? We are back. I'm working on my YouTube voice. That was my best attempt at a YouTube
That was good.
voice.
That was good.
Thank you. So it's time for Casper's variety hour of, I don't know, disgust. Some kind of bad word. You know how we do it. If you're a listener of the show, you know what's up. For this one, Casper, why don't you let us know what we're talking about?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about what kind of games we think should be on the Switch, because there's just some times where you're playing a game, but you want to take it on the subway or in the car.
Or like
you just want to go.
You want to play it while you're driving
Or
in
it's
your
like-
car?
yeah,
on the
it's like
freeway?
those.
Got your feet on the steering wheel.
It's like all the commercials where it's like a rooftop party and
The rooftop party, yeah. I'm like,
Right.
I bring my Switch to a rooftop party. People are like, who the fuck
yeah,
is that guy?
yeah. Yep.
Weirdo. Yeah, and I think we chose this question is explicitly because Outer Wilds is coming to the Switch in a couple months, and that game, as we discussed, the 22-minute time loop. Perfect
It's
for
weird
the
too
Switch.
because it's like they can get so many there's so many huge games that you think, oh, that's never coming to Switch. How the hell would that even work?
Right.
But then they do it. But then there's a game that's like a simple indie game, and maybe because it's an indie game, they don't have the resources to port it to Switch and all that stuff. But it's like, man, some of these games, especially the smaller indie ones, would be perfect. I don't think anyone was like, yo, Civ 6, it's gotta come to Switch. It'd be perfect.
Right,
But they
right.
did it, and it works really well,
Right,
right?
right.
So
Does it work really well?
I heard
haven't
it
played
works
Civ 6
well.
on Switch.
I played it.
gets
I'm
hot, right?
Bit of a Civ guy. It gets a little hot.
a little
Like
hot.
literally, you're gonna be losing. Don't put it on your lap. You lose a few sperm cells down there. But
Yeah. a risk I'm willing to take.
yeah.
So I think there will be like a common thread through a lot of our suggestions, but I'm gonna toss it to Casper because we don't usually toss it to Casper first.
I was having a hard time because every time I'm like, oh, I wish this game was on the Switch. Google it. It's on the Switch.
Like, oh shit, it is on the Switch.
So for which I just wrote down every single JRPG because there's some that are, and JRPGs, they're so long. If you can just pause it whenever and just take it whenever, in all your spare time, I would probably beat so many more JRPGs.
Yeah, I mean I got Dragon Quest on the Switch specifically for that reason. I was like, playing that like on a bus would be sick.
Yeah, especially classic JRPGs where you can't save all the time. You could just just pause it and not try put it to sleep.
Suspend it. Yeah.
And then you're just good to go. You just pick it up whenever. I love that in game consoles now in general. I just love that you can suspend stuff.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I remember I had rented Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for the PS2, and I didn't have a memory card. My parents were just like,
That's a classic.
buy me a- They were like, you don't need one of those.
Yeah.
My dad bought the PS2 because it was a fucking DVD player. Like, that's the only reason we had it. It was cheaper than most DVD players on the market, and it played video games. So my dad was like, yeah, whatever. So I rented that game, played it. Dude, my PS2 got so hot. I left it on for like 4 days straight because I tried to beat that in one
funny.
sitting. Didn't do it. Had to return it to the video
That's pretty
store.
good.
But yeah. So now so Casper, I understand what you're saying. I'm so happy technology has come as far as it has.
Yeah.
Well, it's even getting to that point with Xbox with quick resume. You can have like 27 different games just I don't want to play some more.
Oh, really?
Suspend this one, boot up another game you started playing like a week ago, and it picks up right where you left off.
How do they do
It's
that
virtual
again?
machines, right?
Does each game like run on its own? Yeah, it runs on its own
right.
VM. And then you just
it's pretty
can suspend
genius,
the whole
yeah.
state of the VM and
Right.
into memory.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's
I didn't know
ingenious.
they did that.
Or into storage. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty tight.
Same type of stuff that like on your phone, or I don't know if Android does this, but on an iPhone they'll save the memory
Saving,
state
like,
of
the
all the
state,
apps.
yeah.
And usually
Really?
people go through and close them
But
all.
it's like
even
you
though,
don't even need to. Yeah.
yeah, you don't need.
You don't
if
have to,
anything,
yeah,
it's
'cause
more
it's not
beneficial to
occupying
not
RAM.
close them. So.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Really?
that.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
because
that.
it's like we're talking minuscule stuff here,
Yeah.
right? But like it actually takes
Right.
more energy, so you're losing battery life and everything
To boot
for you to
up and-
cold start an app than it does to just load that memory and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Huh. Fascinating.
Little
Joe,
tech
our
tip.
guest. Yeah. Since you're giving
Tech
tech
tip.
tips, why don't you tech tip us what would be a good game on the Switch?
Can I say multiple games? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
No. Just kidding. Yes.
I was like, oh shit. Okay.
I mean,
if Evan doesn't want to,
they're all
Everyone else can. You can.
they're all basically the same game. I want pretty much every
Yeah.
Pokemon game up to platinum
Yeah.
on the Switch.
Yeah.
I mean that
That one's
They
that's
have the
should be a
retro
thing.
store. I'm so
That's-
confused.
yeah.
They have this little retro store. I pay money every month so I can use that retro store, even though I haven't used it in a year. But the retro store. So why not put Pokemon Red
Dude,
in
it's
there?
super. It's super weird because they're sitting on how many generations of.
They could make so much money. I would give you so much
No,
money,
'cause that's the
Nintendo.
thing,
I
dude,
would pay $30 for every Pokemon game up to platinum. I will.
With the
I'll do
virtual
it.
console, right? They were set up to do like, okay, we got Game Boy, we got Game Boy Advance, we got NES, SNES, all these games you can purchase.
Right.
Like purchase with Wii Bucks
Yeah.
or whatever it was called, Wii Points. So it's like the fact that they just don't have that on Switch is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. It does feel like a regression.
Yeah.
I
Like,
really want a GameCube one because I missed out on so many GameCube
Right.
games, and I would love to play them.
I wonder how hard that is
Yeah.
to emulate. Like
Definitely.
if that's just because I know like PS3 for example is like a console that they're just having a ton of trouble emulating games from. So I wonder if
I think
But if they have the problem with it though is just like you have to reverse engineer, you have to hack the
Yeah.
the PlayStation, right?
Right.
If they have access to the back, like
Yeah.
they control it.
Yeah.
They don't need to
Yeah.
reverse engineer
Yeah.
this stuff.
Right.
Like they could easily do
Right.
it. And I don't have like numbers to back it up, but I am almost 100% confident that the most like pirated and emulated games
gotta be Nintendo
right now
games,
that
right?
people are Nintendo games, right? They're the most edited ROM hack is like Leaf Green or whatever, Fire Red or
Green,
something,
yeah.
right? So it's like
Yeah.
why not capitalize on this market,
Yeah.
Nintendo? You could just emulate your old games, man. Like you're gonna make so much money. It's not even
Yeah.
funny.
yeah, I think so. For me, another category. So like, it's kind of like we have a genre of games from Casper. We've got like just the entire backlog that Nintendo's sitting on
Yeah.
that they're not doing
Yeah,
anything with.
right.
yeah, basically
and
from
then
Joe.
for
yeah.
me, it's kind of like there was like a brief period of time where the Nintendo Switch had just come out, but the 3DS is already like this huge monumental success, right? So the Switch came out.
Depends on who you ask.
As far as like units sold, I guess, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
they were
sure.
still supporting that by putting out these games. But like put it on the Switch. It's the console you just released. Why are you not releasing it for the Switch? And the biggest example is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I have this here on the notes. I don't know if you guys have played this game.
I played the original.
Yeah, it's
when I was
a
kid.
Mario RPG game for like the Game Boy Advance, right? I never beat it. I was on the final boss fighting Bowsletta or whatever. He fuses with two bosses at the end, whatever. Haven't beat it ever since I was like fucking like 7, right? I want to beat this game. So they release it on 3DS, the remake's like, yo, what the fuck? Put it on the Switch. You just released the Switch. This is my moment to finally beat the game, and I'm never gonna get to beat it.
Yeah.
I think they were really worried the Switch wasn't going to do well.
I guess like they
Yeah,
were.
I think so too.
But, like-
they were not confident in it. It was like low hard. Like they literally just like scraped a piece of shit together and shit it out. Like it was not.
And it's
a
doing well
well-thought-out
now.
product.
Like it's doing really well
Right.
now,
Well,
but it took
that's the
some
yeah.
time to. But it's like if you think with that mindset, like as Nintendo, you're kind of setting yourself up to fail, right? It's like, okay, we can't release any games for it because it's not doing too well. It's like, no, it's not doing too well because you're not, putting out like really important exclusives for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What came out like with the Switch?
Zelda.
Breath of the Wild.
Because
Breath of the
that
Wild,
was
like,
on
that's
Wii
like-
U too, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
there
one
was,
to Switch. That was the console mover.
did Odyssey come out too at the same time?
that was the
no,
year
Odyssey
after.
was
Right.
later.
A couple
right.
months
So it was
later.
literally
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild. And
Yeah.
and
But
1,
Odyssey
2,
is why I
whatever.
bought
Yeah.
my
And
Switch.
I like how they
Yeah,
are.
1, 2 Switch.
They're kind of looking at the Switch and going, okay, our Wii U sales were just soft all across the board, right? Like no one's played
I bought a Wii U.
Donkey
Acid, if you
Kong
will.
Tropical Freeze, but it's a really great game. Everybody says
Freeze.
it. So let's put it on Switch. I appreciate that. I know Aiden Lammer, a past guest, does not like that. He wishes they would make new games, which makes sense because they are kind of just like digging up these games that didn't do well on Wii U to put them on the Switch. But yeah, that to me is just like, I don't know. The Switch is fucking sick. I want every game to come out on
Yeah.
Switch, and the fact that they were still putting shit on 3DS. I think the Switch had been out for like 6 months or 8 months or something. I want to say. It's like, man, that
Yeah.
sucked.
Longer. They were still putting stuff out on both
Yeah.
for quite a while. Now I think the 3DS is
I think so,
officially
too.
retired,
Yep.
but
So, anyways, I'll get off my
yeah.
I'll get off my grandstand and I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weird thing about the Switch was that they said that the Switch was like the third pillar. They wanted the Wii U, the 3DS, and the Switch to coexist.
Oh, ew.
The Switch does
Really?
Yeah.
the same thing for both of those better.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how not confident they were of the
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah, you're right,
crazy.
Cody. I would look at it the opposite way. You're combining the Wii U and 3DS into one unit.
Yeah, and I guess
and
after
making the Switch.
after like the Wii U, it kind of, from their point of view, it probably makes sense. It's like, all right, maybe console, maybe like we got to tone it down a little bit. You know what I mean? But I think they should have just fired on all cylinders and just like went hard with the Switch, which they still haven't done, I guess, because I don't know what's coming out this year for the Switch. I don't know. For like
Nothing.
triple.
Fucking whole
Yeah.
bunch of nothing.
Yeah, I guess so the Switch was kind of just like the wrong man in the right place type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah, I think so.
the technology was there to actually have good games on a mobile device, and they also made it a physical console that you could like plug into your TV. And
Yeah.
all I've
Yeah.
ever wanted to do was play Pokemon on a 65-inch TV, and the Switch gave it to me.
And now you
Right.
can. So, yeah.
Where did they go put the Xbox Game Pass on there? Or whatever
I
it's
still think
called?
that's coming.
It's true.
I think that's coming.
Yeah, people, that's a rumor. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Put if you could put
xCloud, yeah.
xCloud or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
On the Switch, that'd be tight. Speaking of that, I saw, before I get into my picks, I when I was with that buddy I was talking about earlier, he showed me Control running on the Switch.
Whoa.
We talked about that last episode.
work?
That
Yeah.
runs in the cloud.
Oh, it's in the cloud. Okay, I was gonna say my
Yeah.
my like desktop barely ran Control.
But that being said, the Switch, if the Switch can run fucking The Witcher 3, the Switch can
Yeah.
run anything at this
Yeah.
point.
Maybe it
it's
doesn't run
insane.
it
I don't know if you
well,
guys
but
seen
yeah,
The Witcher
it
3 on
looks-
the
Right.
Switch. It's still
Yeah.
amazing. I mean,
So
like seeing
small.
The Witcher 3
Yeah.
in your hands and being like identifying it as such, like that's The Witcher 3 and it's
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
my two hands right,
Right,
now.
and it's
like,
not
that's pretty
cooling.
crazy.
There's no fans in the Switch.
Yeah.
I don't think there's even a fan in the.
No, there's a fan.
But like
There's
there's
a fan.
there's
There's
one,
a-
and it's not very big.
There's only
Yeah,
really
okay. I
cool.
didn't,
fan in the
even, I
Switch.
didn't even know there was a fan in the Switch then. Okay.
Yeah.
I take back
Yeah,
my
it's-
cooling statement though.
But yeah,
This,
It's right at the top.
The Switch is like a gigantic graphics card, and that's
Right.
all it is. Like
Yeah.
it's like a graphics card with one
Yeah.
fan. Okay, so my picks, so anything with like a short, as we I think covered earlier, but like anything with like short core loop is I think a super solid choice for the Switch. I put a couple things, but I'm gonna go for my number one. One of my favorite underappreciated series is Orcs Must Die. It's a third-person shooter crossed with a tower defense. Super fun. I think on the Switch, playing like 1 or 2 rounds on the Switch and then being able to set it down will be so tight. Like I always found it like annoying because I play it on my PC, and it's just like, you got to get into like a mode to play it on your PC. Whereas I feel like if I could just play it on my couch, kick the old feet up, hell
especially
yeah.
with a game like that,
Nothing
where you
wrong
don't have
with
to be
gaming.
like as accurate. Like it's not a competitive, shooter or whatever. So
Right, yeah. The fact that I can use my mouse was not necessary at all to the core experience, because the gun that you use is like a blunderbuss. It's like a shotgun, so you're just kind of shoot, and it's like a grenade launcher, so very inaccurate weaponry. Most of your interaction with the enemies through placing the traps and the tower defense-y type stuff, so you don't need any of that.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a solid one.
There's a couple more we wrote down on this list. So
Yeah.
if anyone before we call it wants to shout one
I
out.
saw Bully. Bully's not
you?
on the Switch.
nah, Bully is not. I would like.
Just surprised.
I mean, that's like another category of games that I want on the Switch, right? It's just like shit I haven't played. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot. But it's like, a Bully or like any of the old like Grand Theft Autos,
Rockstar games in general.
Rockstar games.
Just
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything.
So-
Put everything in anything.
Yeah, let me play something on it. Speaking of Bully, I bought the PS2 like classics version
Okay.
on the PS4, and the last time I played Bully, I had played the Scholarship Edition on the 360. Dude, that game is covered in a dense fog on the
Okay.
PS2. I don't know if you should go back and play it. You can't see more than like 10 feet in front of you. It's like Superman 64.
Oh, wow.
It's like, man, it's at Bulworth
Yeah.
Academy. It is fucking raining
Yeah.
hard. Like,
That's funny.
it does not look good.
And like
all.
that kind of sucks
But-
because on Xbox, like their up-resing and unlocking frame rates for all these old games. They're like, without even a patch in most cases. Like, it just runs better, like, automatically for these old games. But
yeah, they can juice it up. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, I think that'll do it, right, guys?
I mean, besides what's our next game, but other than that, wrapped it up.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna get there, guys.
Cody's trying to call you out there.
Yeah. So next week, because of Cody and Joe's rave reviews, I have selected Loop Hero. I'm coming at this as having not played it at all. Casper hasn't played it. Cody's been playing it. I don't know who our guest will be, but perhaps they will.
It's always great when.
So look forward to that 2 weeks from today.
No, I was gonna say, like, it's always great when a game that I'm currently addicted to gets chosen to be the next episode. I'm like, all right, sweet. I can just.
Don't have to split my attention. I want to thank Joe for joining us. Joe, you want to shout out your YouTube channel, I bet?
Yeah, I do.
You just put out a crazy video.
Check out Highland Ave. Highland Ave on YouTube. We just put out, my roommate just bought this, it's a 3D printer, but it has a belt on it. And so as it's printing stuff, the belt is moving along. So in theory, you can print tons and tons of objects. You know, it's like mass manufacturing type stuff. It's this whole, he signed up for a Kickstarter. He was like an early bird signatory or whatever and all that stuff. And so this is like one of the first ones to exist in the world. So it's really awesome we have it. So we made a nice little like unboxing and kind of first impression style video. And it's probably the best one I've put out yet.
Yeah,
so
I really hope you, keep doing content like that, because I think that even if it's like really small stuff, like 5-minute videos or whatever, I think that stuff's really cool.
I have so far every video you've done is really cool. I do like them.
Thanks. My next video is going to be
exclusive.
It's going to be about structured
news.
Cabling systems, T568A versus T568B. Color codes for twisted pair cabling. But you'll be surprised about it. It's got quite the twist at the end. So
the twist, good one.
Twist. Yeah, twisted.
All right, that's enough shilling. That's enough shilling for me.
Yeah. All right, check out Highland Ave. It's got the official any percent.
It'll be
endorsement.
linked.
We'll link it.
It'll
in the
be linked in
description.
the
Cool.
linked
Thanks,
in the
boys. Thanks, boys.
descriptions
I'll put
and
a card
such
too
on YouTube.
Check out the
Is it?
check out the
Where's it
card.
gonna be, Casper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. What's probably funny is we're all like in different places.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, like, we're all
Yeah,
just kind
who
of pointing
knows?
willy-nilly. Can't line it up. So yeah, I would like to thank my two wonderful co-hosts, Casper and
course.
Cody. This has been a really fun episode, guys. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with Loop Hero.